I'd like to welcome each of you to week 6. This week is unique due to the fact that I'm going to be opening up the week 6 folder, but also the week 7 folder. I will be out of town all next week, so everything from week 6 and week 7, will not be due until October 15th. Now, the only exception to that rule is in week 7 you are going to be answering questions for your final exam for secondary physical education, and it will not be available until next Monday. But everything will be due the following week, and so I'm going to go through everything that you're responsible for this week and next week, so you'll have an extended period of time. As always, don't put it off to the very end. Make sure that you're periodically working on your assignments for this class leading up to next week so that everything doesn't happen at the same time. So let's go ahead and take a moment to look at your responsibilities for this week. We're going to be looking at chapter 10, which deals with assessment. You're also going to watch a video of a teacher teaching a 6th grade lesson. And so you're going to click on the YouTube link. And as you watch that video, I have an assessment that I want you to complete. So let me drag that over so you can see it. You're going to be doing this assessment. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the categories we're looking at, and you're going to give your best assessment based on the teacher's performance for that particular lesson. So let's look at a couple just as an example. Number 1 says back to the wall, avoids turning back to students in class. In other words, does the teacher do a good job of being on the perimeter of the class and making sure that he has a visual of all of his students? Typically, if we do this as teachers, we have a little bit more control of our class. Some of you have already mentioned that in some of the discussions that we've already had. Now, typically in a rubric, you'll see a description of what represents excellent, what represents very good, good, satisfactory. But in this instance, I just want you to make a judgment based upon what you view in the performance of the teacher. The second one says stop and start protocols are used, uses signals, common words. In other words, what kind of protocols does he use for getting equipment, for putting equipment back up? What about entering the class and leaving the class? What about when he stops the class to give directions, to give instructions? What type of protocols does he use? So be looking for the protocols that the teacher is using. Stop, start protocols reinforce consistently. In other words, if he asks the class to stop and 5 or 6 are still moving, but he says nothing about it or does nothing to correct the incorrect behavior, then he probably did a poor job with reinforcing the protocols. And so you'll go through each item that's on this list, and as you're watching the teacher, just give your best assessment of each of these criteria as you're watching the video. And then at the end, I want you to give me a description. What was the strength of the lesson? And then what does the teacher really need to work on? So consider that as well as you're going through the lesson. And this is going to lead us to a discussion about observing other teachers and how we look for and how we measure high quality physical education instruction. So let me get out of this document. Let's go back to our checklist. As you scroll down, you'll see the discussion. The discussion is going to be related to assessment. Now look at some of the questions that I want you to answer. Why is this a new concept for physical education, and why are many physical education teachers in the schools not doing this very important concept? So give me some feedback. So why is it a new concept for physical education, and why do many not do it? It's always been mind-boggling to me because assessment is how we know that learning is occurring. So I'm curious to know from you, why do you think this is a trend? And then finally, if we haven't been measuring what our students have learned, then how will you measure learning? So give me some things that you think would be beneficial in a secondary physical education lesson. Just give me 1 or 2 examples. You don't have to write the book. I just want you to give me just a couple of examples of what you would do as it relates to assessment. And as always, Please remember to post yours by next Friday. Hopefully you'll do it before then, and that'll give everybody else the opportunity to respond to your post. And then finally, the last thing you're going to do in week 6 is you are going to create a block plan and assessment plan. In other words, a block plan is, let's just say that you're going to do a unit plan on basketball. And let's say that you see your students every day of the week. And you say, I'm going to do 4 weeks of basketball. So over a 4-week time period, that would be 20 lessons. So what are you going to do over a 20 lesson unit? And how are you going to assess them each day? Because assessment is a key component of teaching high quality physical education. So what I want to do is I want to show you what an example would look like for this. And so as you can see here, we have a block plan starting with day 1 going all the way through day 20. Now on each day you're going to have a focus and you're going to have an assessment. So you're going to give me a brief summary of what you're going to do on that day, and then you're just going to give me an idea or an example of how you're going to assess students. You may give me a couple of examples, but you may just focus on one for that day, but I do want you to have an assessment in mind. What I don't want you to do is I don't want half the days to say teacher observation, because many times we use that as an out. We say, oh, I'm going to be observing them. And that may sound good because there is a lot that can be done by observing teachers and by observing students, but we have to follow that up with what exactly are we observing? What exactly are we looking for? So give me an idea of what your assessment is going to be for each day. And then as you can see on page 2, we have an assessment plan. And so week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4, there's going to be certain things that you're going to require the students to do, and you're going to give it an actual value. And I want to see from you what type of assessment plan you would put in place for a unit in physical education. Now the example is basketball, so you cannot use basketball. You can use any sport or activity other than basketball, which leads me to your actual assignment. Notice what it says. Using the block plan format and the example that I just showed you, choose any secondary level grade and sport or activity that interests you. So I'll give you some choices here to choose from. And then you're going to create your block plan, you're going to create the assessment plan, and then it'll be due Sunday on the 15th. So you have a couple of weeks to work on this. Now how will I grade you? Your block plan and assessment plan rubric. This is what I'm looking for. Daily focus, daily assessment, the block plan flow, the assessment plan flow, feasibility and clarity. So those are the things I'm going to be looking for as I'm grading your block plan and assessment plan. So use this as your directions for completing the assignment. So let's go back to the checklist. That's everything from week 6. So here you have a blank template. That blank template is going to look like this. So you're going to fill in all the blanks. Again, use the example as something to refer to when you're completing that assignment. Once you're done with your block plan and assessment, be sure to upload it to Dropbox. So just in review for week 6, review chapter 10 and read the chapter. You want to submit your analysis of the secondary physical education lesson. You also want to complete discussion number 7 on assessment. And then finally you want to submit your block plan and assessment plan, which is going to lead us to week 7, which is your final week for secondary physical education. I know it's crazy to think how quickly this class flies by. So we are almost halfway done, and the content for secondary physical education is coming to an end. 2 things you're going to do in week 7. You're going to take a final exam for the secondary portion. You're going to open up this document, which will be available October 9th, so it will not be available until week 7 on that Monday. Once you've answered all the questions, you can submit it to Dropbox. And the other thing I want you to do is I want you to create a lesson plan. And the lesson plan that you're going to create is going to be one of the days from your block plan. So you're going to look at the example of a lesson plan here, and you're going to use the format, the template that's provided to complete your lesson plan for the secondary physical education lesson from the block plan that you created. And as you're creating your lesson plan, keep in mind the assessments that you chose, because what I'm going to be looking at in your completed lesson plan is does it match up to what was created in your block plan and the assessment plan. So again, week 7, your final exam, and submitting a lesson plan. And that will conclude everything for the secondary physical education portion. So you have 2 weeks to do week 6 and week 7. Please don't put it off till the very end. Take advantage of the time that you have now. I will be out of town next week. So if you do need to get a hold of me, it may be a little bit more challenging, but I will try my best each day that I'm gone to check my email, and I'll try to be able, or I will attempt to get back to you as soon as possible. Hope everybody has a great week. Please let me know if you have any questions about week 6 and week 7. Have a great day.